Hello guys, this is the SWTOR guy here and welcome to a special video. This one is gonna be a long one, so please just sit back and relax. Because I'm gonna be reacting one of the oldest videos that Star Wars The Old Republic, the main channel, has. And that was the Guild Summit on March 5th, 2012. If you don't know what it is, I will tell you basically. Back in the day, when the game launched on December, the first proper meeting was in somewhere in Texas. I don't know which place, but it had a guild meeting, a guild summit, which pretty much like a lot of guilds came out and pretty much just talking about a lot of stuffs, about the game, about the feedback and everything, and just pretty much a lot of devs are there. They wanted to receive their feedback about a certain amount of topics, and this video is going to be about the operation slash flashpoints. Now, I just wanted to say, if you wanted to see more, just smash the like button, and if we're gonna have like, I don't know, 10, 15 or something like that, I will do it for another one. So like there will be roleplay, PvP, and some other things. So enough chit chat. I'm gonna be reacting and some of the things that I wanted to say, which is what happened and what has not happened still from 2012, and we are talking about right now to 2017. What has actually happened in that 5-year time period? So let's get into this funny stuff and see what is this all about.
All right, so this afternoon, we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of different topics. We are running about 20 minutes behind, but we can extend into the evening. We've got a little bit of extra wiggle room there, so that shouldn't be a problem. And the first thing we're going to do is going to talk about operations and flashpoints.
Yay.
Before we do anything else, I just want to introduce everybody that we have up here on stage who's going to talk to you this afternoon. So, who do we have today? We have...
so yeah, in case if you didn't know, I'm just going to stop it sometimes. Oops. This one was Stephen Reed, back in the day, like the community manager of the game.
So we have
like the senior online community manager. So he was the main community manager before Eric. So I don't know what happened with him, but I guess I don't know if he's still working in BioWare and stuff like that. We'll see. Let's continue.
James Olin, who is apparently not here right now.
So James, obviously, a lot of people know.
He was here a minute ago, and I know he's coming back. But James Olin's going to be here for the duration. Daniel Erickson, who recently has changed his title, is now lead game designer. Gabe Amatangelo, who just got off a plane from Australia, so therefore he's very, very tired. But he's here as our lead endgame designer.
He was the end game designer, Gabe.
Georg Zola, who I'm sure you've seen from a million forum posts, our lead combat designer.
So yeah, I don't want to just go
Schubert,
and see what is this. Like, these are the main like producers, game developers, and everything around it. I'm just gonna go and talk around the main point, which is the operation slash flashpoint. So I'm just gonna skip through that part.
I will handle that. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I saw this video, so I forgot most of the things what he's saying. So
operations and flashpoints going on right now, and you have to bear with me. Like Steven said, just got off a plane not too long ago, and just got briefed on this presentation now, so I'm going to kind of wing it. Current state of operations. 38% of level 50 players have played an operation. So
38%
up there, even without
like,
a sort of group finder system. Or
if you wanted to compare that to others, like, that is low. Like that was really, really low. Like 50, like all the level 50 players. Like, okay, don't get me wrong, in March still not a lot of players had level 50. But if they do, they wanted to try out the new stories about the agent and all of the class stories. So that's why there will not much operation in that time zone. But that is still, I think it's a little bit low.
Managing to get together for at least the 8-player mode. Now, of course, we know there are bugs, particularly in Eternity Vault, our
Yep.
first one.
Do you guys remember those bugs?
More frustrating than other areas due to time invested, level and reward, and repeatable content. So yeah, we're fully aware. Obviously, it takes a lot of effort to get in there, and then when bugs happen, it is an issue. So it's a high
been a lot
priority
of
for
things
us to
have
deal
been
with that
changed,
stuff.
and still there is bugs on
A
SWTOR.
big part of it is
Or like
getting
into
more of
Eternity
the
Vault.
sort of guild testing and feedback, which in Game Update 1.1 with Karaga's Palace we did. And we were excited about that, and we're going to be making more efforts for that in 1.2 because that helps a lot. So as those of you who played Karaga's Palace, you saw that was a bit smoother. Obviously, there were some issues, but it was a dramatic improvement over the
That
Eternity
is
Vault
totally
ones.
right, by the way. They improved the Karaga's
See, what do
Palace
we have
really
next
well.
here? Looting system in normal difficulty needs improvement. We know it is
Oh,
a
yeah.
frustrating thing, the Destin loot system.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, we only got sort of like part of what we wanted in there. Another aspect to it, we wanted to make it good for pugs, pug friendly, so you didn't have to yield to sort of the master looter and his demands or whatever. But obviously sometimes with Destin loot you get stuff that you already had. We wanted it to be smarter, it didn't turn out that way, so we're going to be deviating from it a bit in the next update. We're going to be switching it to just normal loot inside of the story mode or the normal mode of operations. So players can do those things. Another aspect we were considering with it is making it that you can receive the Destin loot, but you're able to trade it for a couple hours. That's another bit of functionality we want to get in there. But in the
They
meantime, until
already
we get to that
implemented
point,
that
we're
as
going to
well.
be switching it to the regular type of loot mode.
The looting was really bad.
Existing
Like,
operations are relatively easy.
look at that
I
topic,
love this
guys.
bullet point, Steven. Thank you. So if you haven't beaten the existing operations, well then, I don't know what to tell you guys. So yeah, I mean, the nightmare mode and the hard mode, we definitely wanted it to be more challenging than it ended up being. Part of contributing to it is more time, sort of soak time with guild testing and tuning and that kind of things. Also, a number
These
of
are
little
all
bugs
guild
contributing,
members, by
like
the
we
way,
have
or
armor
leaders.
debuffs from players stacking on monsters more than we want to. A number of things like that we're addressing that actually had the difficulty lower than it was intended to. We are addressing this stuff in the future, and I don't want to get ahead of myself for the next slide, but let's see here. Hard and nightmare modes give same loot. Yeah, so we know that's, right now the nightmare mode is, achievements. It gives a little.
So let's get into this point before he moves on. So yeah, the normal mode was a little bit easy, but the hard mode was really hard. And I don't know like who they saying are relatively easy. Like I was Europe second when I done this, and I mean not for me, by guild. Because back in the day, in that time, I just started to play and done Karaga's Palace. So I wasn't done hard mode that much, but nightmare mode, it's definitely much easier. And there was a little bit of problem with the same loot as well. Like that brought a lot of controversy back in the day. Like doesn't really need it to do nightmare mode because you can do it on the hard mode and pretty much you receive the same gear. And that's what a lot of people
bit
pissed
extra
off.
loot, but it's not a completely different type of loot. And some of the improvements in Update 1.2, but first we'll touch on the Operations Explosive Conflict. Game Update 1.2, we'll be having a new operation, and this is going to be harder than the current operations.
It was
It's going to
much
require
harder.
A whole new level of
I can say that.
coordination. So again, the challenge we're focusing on is not necessarily, hey, more gear, more stats, that kind of thing, though that will happen naturally as we're tiering up these raids. Operations, excuse me. Is coordination between players. That's the focus, like the coordination between the group and execution. That is the focus. Now, our first two operations, Karaga's Palace and Eternity Vault, sort of our tier 1, Denova, Explosive Conflict, which take place on Denova, is going to be the sort of first of our tier 2. And it is going to be on top of that difficulty. It's going to be that progression, having to gear up through these to get to that for the hard and nightmare modes of it.
So yeah, this was tier 2 for
Nightmare mode to be a
sure.
more serious challenge. Let's see. Sorry. Needs serious testing and balancing. It's not going to launch in 1.2 because we're gonna focus
Wow.
and ensure that the nightmare mode is a nightmare.
So I'm gonna stop it right there. Like, that thing was so hilarious, and that's where a lot of people started to quit the game, unfortunately. I can tell you that what I saw in my servers and all of the community, because back in the day when the explosive conflict launched, a lot of people are excited, including my guild as well, and they bring up hard mode as well. And don't get me wrong, we needed to do the story first to be able to do hard mode, because in the story mode you will pretty much receive much better gear, so like tier 2 gear, which was really, really good. So we needed to do it a lot of times until we can go into hard mode. And yeah, it was a serious topic, but what he's saying, right, he said as well, the nightmare mode needs serious testing and balancing and will not launch in 1.2. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit so I can give you a brief example when it came out. So this is the patch notes back in the day from 1.2, and this is where they introduced the Nova explosive conflict, which is currently on 8 and 16 man story and hard. So this was on April 12th, 2012, and they needed to get serious testing. So in the HK51 activated, when they launched the free-to-play as well, then they introduced the nightmare mode for that operation, and it happened on November 15. Like, just think about that around, like, how much is that? Like, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. 7 months to make a nightmare difficulty about the Nova. A lot of people were pissed off for that, and a lot of people wanted to get that wanted to get that operation, that nightmare de Nova. And trust me, it was really, really hard. Like, don't get me wrong, it was hard, and they introduced new mechanics and things like that, but it shouldn't be that long, I think. Like, that was so ridiculous. And a lot of people were pissed off at that, that's for sure.
As far as difficulty, but enjoyable still.
Yeah, it was not enjoyable at all. Like, I can say, like, some of the things are enjoyed, but not that much.
So yeah, so at the same time,
this was the time.
I'm not going to give spoilers per se, but the sort of main galactic storyline continues inside of the operations. We want to ensure that all the more casual players have an opportunity to experience that story. So we're changing sort of normal mode to story difficulty mode to be appropriately labeled.
So this was pretty much like replacing the normal mode to story, and it was a little bit of nerfed, not that much, but allowing role players and anybody who's PvPing and stuff like that to just go in and see what is this operation is all about. And I think this was a really, really good idea. And still we having story operations and story flashpoints, etc.
So yeah, I touched on that. Now it says without having to be gear up, it's not going to be as steep as a gear up. It's going to be a little bit more than the normal mode of the first tier, but it's not going to be, let's say if you had sort of, your X and Y axis and the gearing difficulty being at like 60 degrees for hard mode, this will be more of like a 30, 20 degrees. So a little bit more gear, but not quite as long of an investment to go from one to the next.
So this was pretty
next. Orange gear viability in endgame. I think Emmanuel put a blog up about this. We talked about it in a few different interviews. At 1.2, you're going to be able to extract all of your mods, including the sort of base mod, and with that is going to come the set bonus. So you'll be able to put it in any other kind of gear that you want and have.
This is where they introduced the gear system properly. That was a really really good mood, and unfortunately I think it's still on the game as well. So where you can move armor sets and set bonuses.
Operations, yes, predestined loot, normal mode. I touched on that going away. Again, like I said, I just got brief on this, so I got ahead of some of it. You'll have to forgive me. Nightmare mode, only way. So nightmare mode's gonna have when we release it after 1.2, shortly after 1.2, it's going to be another. It's going to be different.
Shortly.
Gear. It's going to be different loot than what is in hard mode. Right on. So, as I was saying, bug fixing, it's our highest priority for operations.
Still not a lot of things fixed, unfortunately. I mean, a lot of things fixed.
The guild testing, again, in 1.1, we had some guild testing. We're going to be ramping up.
I don't know who tested the operations, but
we very much wanted to do that, and we're happy to start
it was so
online.
weird. So weird to see that.
Kragus Palace had guild testing, so yeah, I touched on that. 1.1. There we have it.
Character copy.
To PTS, we're working on that.
It happened, I think, before Rise of the Hot Cartel.
So we can have more and more people on the public test
2.0. But it was like really
more
late.
Every major update, like we're saying, we're going to be having more operation content, more Flashpoint content.
Two in
more
development.
Challenging and more rewards. The focus, again, on execution with the challenging, some of the gearing up in it, but more of the execution and coordination. So fighting the boss, not the game. More info on screen. We like having these sort of, as opposed to monitoring debuffs and things like that, like seeing the actual in-game visceral cues of what's going on. This has been the direction and the focus of our operations and our flashpoints. We didn't hit the nail with all of them, but some of them, and we're going to continue focusing on gearing towards that or having that happen.
That was a really good
idea,
by the way, but yeah.
Flashpoints, so on to flashpoints now.
Flashpoints now, this one was really on the higher topic.
We're straight to flashpoints? Sorry. Okay. Flashpoints. Current state of flashpoints. Flashpoints are enjoyable. That's excellent bullet points. This is good stuff.
That was already happened. Like,
you enjoy that.
Better endgame progression. It was better.
Better endgame progression via flashpoints. Just in general, the sort of when you hit 50 and the ramping up to hard mode, normal mode, operations, etc. We want to smooth that curve out. We've got some things introduced in 1.2 to help with that. Difficult to find a group.
Yeah,
we do know that is an issue with Flashpoint.
There was no group finder in that time. That's why it was difficult.
In a later slide, so I guess I'll get to how we're addressing that stuff. Those are the current state of stuff. In 1.2, we have Lost Island, new Flashpoint. It finishes the Kaon storyline with the tie-in hegemony.
This was a really nice Flashpoint. By the way, the Lost Island is one of my favorites.
Flashpoints, more Flashpoints coming. Again,
wow,
major
so
updates.
obvious. And to just stop it there and to see on March 2012 to right now on June 2017 how many Flashpoints came out. Like, we can talk about the Forge Alliance one, which have 4 Flashpoints. I think there is the Battle of Rishi and the Blood Hunt. The new one, the Umbrara or whatever, it's coming out on 5.4, I believe. And other than that, I don't know what I missed. Oh, the Turka ones. The Turka Core Meltdown and the other one, which is introduced as well, which has a really, like, much smaller storyline than this one. But yeah, this 2 Flashpoints has a really good lore inside as well, and just a simple story, which is like pretty decent, I think. So let's just move on.
Keep updating the Group Finder. So that's a major thing. We're going to be introducing that in Game Update 1.3. Now it's called Group Finder, not necessarily Flashpoint or Operation, because it's going to be sort of all-purpose. Also for missions, story missions of that nature. Now it's going
that
to
has
be
not happened at all.
Only, focusing. Wow, right on.
They were so proud that we're gonna have Group Finder.
So yeah, so I mean, community is obviously very important. We don't want to have random pug dude who just goes AFK and doesn't care about his reputation. And I'm trying to watch my language here, but you know what I'm saying. Those guys. We can avoid that when more people know each other. And discussion topics, operations, current difficult. Is it too easy? Is it too hard? I guess we already led that answer with one of the bullet points, but we can discuss that some more. New story difficulty, allowing everyone to play. Love to hear your guys' feedback, questions about that. how difficult should it be to end, gear up and end game? People are in two different camps with that.
This
kind of
was
thing, so
the
interesting
free
points too.
discussion topics. What they
Oops, I clicked too fast. There we go. All right. So yeah, I guess at this point we open it up for questions. Steven, you're running around. All right.
So yeah, this was
Now, of
pretty
course,
much
these
like
are the topics, but it's not.
I'm gonna stomp it. So these were pretty much like a 10-minute brief about what has happened in operations and flashpoints, and after that they just ask questions. Now I'm not gonna go and watch all of the questions, but some of the things I will highlight to you right now as soon as like it's happening. Like Stephen is gonna go running around and asking the guild leaders, guild players, or whatever what they are doing. As you see behind there is the stream. If you're seeing it right there, if I'm just gonna go with that, that is Mr. Musco. Is running around and doing some stuffs in there as well in that time as well. He was a small community like manager or Twitch things.
I'm wondering, is there the ability to get trash mobs to drop loot to help cash to just help pay for repairs? And then on flashpoints, reverse bolter for high levels so that they can go help lower levels but still get some kind of reward, maybe legacy, experience, or social points.
So as far as the
This
more
is-
trash mobs dropping cash, actually, Georg, you want to answer that one?
So this what made me really funny. Like I remember this part with Gabe, and some of the things he should I say it or not say it? Like, okay, I'm just gonna pass it to somebody. Like that was so hilarious. Like he don't wanted to answer it and say, okay, I'll pass it to one of the devs right there, and okay.
Dealing with the economy stuff right
So
now.
he was the economy leader or designer or producer.
I'll show some graphs
So
later
this
in
was
regards to
not
how
really a big thing. Like the credit-wise, obviously popped out in Scum and Villainy and the Nova, but after that, it's just nothing happened in that area.
cash
So I'm just gonna move
distributed.
on.
Economy is a pain point. They have cash, not more than God, but cash.
And so as far as the kind of reverse the mentoring system you're asking about, that is something that we're all very much want to do, and we're excited about it. We've been discussing it. We don't have a sort of ETA on it at the moment, but a reverse bolstering is in discussion.
Along with the new tier of raid content, will we see separate lockouts? So like Nightmare and Hard Mode will be on separate lockouts?
Nightmare and Hard Mode is going to be on the same lockout.
Okay.
So, no.
That was really funny because it happened. It says it's not gonna happen and things like that. I think he's gonna say it after that right now. Let me
Because again, and the reason, just to touch on in case I talked about this in past interviews, but the story mode and Nightmare and Hard Mode are on different lockouts, is because the Nightmare and Hard Mode we see as sort of the guild progression one. The story mode is the casual pickups, and we didn't want to stop people from being able to go kind of outside of their groups and socialize in the casual type mode.
So pretty much it is actually happened because they realized the Nightmare mode have like more people wanted to try out and see what it is, and pretty much I don't know when it happened, but it went to different lockouts. So the Nightmare one have different lockouts, and the Hard Mode one have different lockouts now as well. And just to point out, a lot of people have like this Guild Summit shirt, which you only had, I think you received if you were in the event. Some of them are from Roster Teeth as well. Like there was some, like, I think he's like kind of a YouTube, like Rooster Teeth had around, I don't know how much million subscribers, but yeah, I'm just gonna
I'm
move
hearing
on.
feedback there. That was weird. Yeah. So next question.
Wondering if there are any plans currently to introduce time-stamped achievements for boss kills or something similar to that to help validate, when an individual boss is killed, to help foster the competition in the raiding community?
Yeah.
That was so on point, by the way. That question
Now
was
we
so
all
on
we
point.
all we all very much want to do that. I can even hand it over to Damien. He wants to talk about that a little bit with the achievement type system stuff. But yeah, we do. That is something we very much want to do.
Yeah, I love achievements. It breaks my heart we didn't get them in. We want to get them in and do them right. And part of the reason why is when you look at the Bartles 4, the kind of people who play any kind of mass multiplayer content. For the killers, that's really all about competition. They're motivated by being the first kill on a server, and that being part of that great race is an incredible feeling. I know when I played that other game that will not be named.
So yeah,
you know,
they not.
yeah.
I think they are not allowed to say the World of Warcraft game. So I think they are not allowed to say it because the game was so fresh, and they don't want it to compare Star Wars: The Old Republic to World of Warcraft. So that's why I think they are not allowed to say it, because when I'm watching it, they're pretty much saying raid, and every time they saying raid, they were like pissed off, or like not pissed off, but like, okay, we shouldn't say that. So yeah. And this guy, by the way, Damien Schubert, is the lead system designer who designed the UI customizations to achievements and everything. He is a really good dude, by the way. What he done is a tremendous. I don't know if he's still working on this game, but hopefully it is.
He managed to beat a boss by 5 minutes, beat another guild by 5 minutes, and that was just an incredible feeling. And we really like for that to exist in our
But in
game,
case if you
and
didn't know,
to
achievements has
be able to be
happened
validated
in
so that
2.0,
you,
but
the
in
guys
1.2
playing
and
whatnot.
when the game was launched, there was
We
no
have
achievements.
long-term
Pretty much like
plans. We have
codex
nothing that is on the
achievements.
immediate
What
horizon,
happened?
but, I'm passionate about it.
And to add to that, obviously when we come out with a new MMO, a new engine, stuff like that, we're working through some of the bugs and whatnot. Once it's sort of fine-tuned and we get the better guild testing and we get it to the sort of difficulty level we want, that's also a good opportunity to then introduce that system, as opposed to dealing with it, having it earlier and some people cheating to get ahead and it not being legitimate and dealing with those types of things.
Yep.
So
That
yeah,
was
something
so
in the
on
future for
point.
sure.
So my current question is, what is the current stance on operations? I know there's mixed feelings in the community about this, but as a raid leader myself, I at times find myself a little bit frustrated not knowing how my raid is doing as far as metrics. So threat meters, combat logs, damage meters, things like that. What is the current stance of your team on eventually working those into the game?
The stance is that we want to have it. We want to have, like, instead of a reliance on those things, we want a reliance on the in-game visual cues. But that's not to say we don't want to have them for those players who do want them. And obviously things like seeing who is not carrying their weight as far as DPS goes and damage, those things are very useful when running guilds, especially if you're trying to hit those the progression quickly. So the stance is that we want to have them. We want to have them in, and they're just not in Game Update 1.2.
Well, it is actually, just to stop it, that has actually never happened. They never implemented a system or a kind of a thing where you can see these. So Tor parse and everything else is actually the community made it. And after that, they obviously introduced the combat log system. So, like, not the combat log system, but a combat log, which allows a TXT file to see what is these things are doing. But after that, Tor realized they needed to make something else, but they didn't make it, but the community made it. So instead, why not make a combat log about it that will be much easier to fit it and pretty much promote that star parse or Tor parse, whatever you want to call it, and pretty much implement a combat log that is helping the community to make the program, and pretty much they will just promote that program, and that's how they got this system, like the whatever it's called system.
So we actually do have something for you, because we do realize it's actually really important, especially if you're a raid leader, operations leader.
So yeah. So this was this was
suggest
what I
everyone
talked
drink
about.
Whenever we do this, it will be much more fun this way. So we do realize that it's useful not only to like identify what are we doing wrong. There's enrage timers. It's problematic to understand what exactly you're doing wrong. So what we, on the other hand, don't want to do is we want you to have control over what other people see about your character. We didn't want to go out and let other people just go out and judge you, so we kind of went with the middle ground. As with Game Update 1.2, you will be able to enable a very simple output into the chat window, which tells you what did just defeat me, or it will also print out when you defeated someone and which attack triggered that. Additionally,
It has
we have
actually
a very,
happened
very
in that
detailed parsable combat log that you can able to be written to disk. It will show everything incoming and outgoing from your character. Someone enterprising like a guild would have no problem probably correlating that into the big picture, but we're not allowing you to just flag a button and then see how is everyone else doing in the group at this point. So yes, you will have a parsable log, it will have threat in there, any kind of effect applied to your character.
This is what I said.
Detailed damage numbers, damage type, critical, all that kind of stuff. And you can do whatever you want with that, but it will be out of game.
I have a really interesting mechanic in space combat, and I was wondering if you guys were ever planning on applying that to Flashpoints or operations.
James, do you want to answer that?
Well, obviously, space is a hot topic. It's a big part of Star Wars, and we got some space into the release game. I've hinted at, so I'll hint at it again. We have a secret project on space in the works right now, but that's all I can say.
That was Galactic Starfighter, in case if you didn't know.
To come in for one fight, that's no fun either. You know, we kind of want you to be able to, you know, build a group and be able to run the whole raid with that group, knowing that you could take it on.
Drink.
Because he said raid.
We can take a couple of questions from the live stream here. Eric Musco's been manning our cover it live stream, so he's gonna.
Mr. Eric Musco is gonna be
what the question is.
Is gonna be
so the first
answering.
question comes from, I'm gonna say Sweeney, and I apologize to someone watching the live stream if I'm mispronouncing your name. Will you be implementing a ready check system for flashpoints and operations?
That
we don't have a ready check?
We don't.
I will go back to the office and get that on the list. I apologize.
Do we have an R&D role?
Slash roll.
Slash roll?
I think it's coming in 1.15. I think it's coming in the next patch. So.
Yes, we know that there are some staples missing, and we're anxious
There is
to
a
get
ready
them in
check
as well.
now, finally. Like, not finally, but it's been a long time
All right,
since.
unfortunately, I can't find this question, but I know it was in here, and the user's name was Drakus, so I apologize that I'm not posting it in the stream. Their question was, are we going to implement hard modes for flashpoints that currently do not have them?
Can I answer that? Yes. Eventually, we will be. Can't say when exactly.
It has happened actually in 2.0. So, and all of the difficulties now have.
All right, next question. This comes from Gold Lantern. He said he saw during the presentation that you can reverse engineer operations gear. Does that mean that you can get schematics from ops gear drops?
Yes.
Do you want to be a little bit more specific on what schematics you get so people do not panic?
Later.
All right.
Content of the like.
So yeah, this was like.
Okay. That'll wrap it up right now for Operation Flashpoint.
I'm gonna stop it right there because that was it pretty much for this. So pretty much is what is not happened. I will told you already, but it is a lot of things happened in the operations and flashpoints. Like when they said they're gonna implement hard mode in the future, they implemented. I think the first 4 was on Aethys, Cadmimu, Hammer Station, and the Mandalore, what is it called? The prison, so the Mandalore prison, I don't know the name properly, that one, but this was the first 4 that they introduced hard mode to their difficulty, and then we obviously have master mode now, which is like nightmare mode pretty much, to in case you are like an old school player like me. I mean, a lot of things have been changed. And a lot of things have been said, like that is a secret project and things like that. Like the Galactic Starfighter is already in the game, and what they said, it's not like a hard mode / nightmare is gonna be not separated, and now you're seeing it is separated. So these are the things that I wanted to look in. And as I said, guys, if you guys want me to do another one, let me know in the comments and just smash the like button, to be perfectly honest. And if we have like 10 to 15 likes or something like that, I will go do the other panels and pretty much like talking about it, and you guys will see it. But if you didn't see this and don't want to, you know, just watching with me, there is a link in the description where you can check out this full panel about the operations and things like that. This is just a retro time, if you wanted to check it out. Until then, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, smash the thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.